I'm Ann Muchler, Executive Editor for EDA at Semiconductor Engineering. I'm here with Hagai Arbel, CEO of Vtool. We are going to talk today about chip design and verification in the cloud. Hagai, can you give us your overall thoughts on this?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's not existing at the moment. I'm sure that we are going there as an industry. I mean, it will maybe take a little bit more time, but definitely we are going there. I think the main barriers until now were definitely not technical in any way. It's more of dynamics, market dynamics, companies' interests, etc. But I guess we'll talk about it more.
Well, let's talk about the barriers then, really in more detail, because if you look at across outside of semiconductors, pretty much every industry we look at is in the cloud. They do business in the cloud. They operate in the cloud in some way. Why not EDA? Why not chip design and verification?
We are very secretive in our industry. We are developing like top-notch IPs, but banks are on the cloud. So in terms of keeping the IP and confidentiality, etc., reasonably more important industries are on the cloud, I would say. In terms of the need, so we are a classical industry to go on the cloud. We have jobs that are consuming so much computing resources, and definitely there is a big need for that. So yeah, why not EDA? That the main reason for that until now is licensing. So companies did not come up with the right scheme, and I think that the major players in this industry, they did not find the right way to charge their customers properly and to make sure that they can come up with the right business model for that. That is one thing. And the other thing is that especially bigger companies, they still under the mindset that they can develop superior infrastructure themselves than the big cloud providers such as Amazon or Microsoft or Google. And I think that one of the aspects that is going to break it is the fact that these huge cloud providers, they become chip designers themselves. I mean, today, and this is not that long time. I mean, I think that only now or in the recent few years is where these companies, they did chip design development in the past, but now they are hitting it real hard. And I look at what is happening in Israel as some kind of, okay, it's a small industry, but it's a marker. So Google is opening a huge chip design center in Israel these days. Apple did it already. Microsoft is expanding it. Amazon is doing that. So I think that it's really going to go there. And I think everything that is preventing it until now is not powerful enough and not fundamental enough to continue in the years to come.
So what is the right licensing model for doing chip design and verification in the cloud today?
Maybe before answering that, we are, so Vtool is an EDA company, okay, and we are selling, we are licensing Cogita, which is a debugging platform, and we have been debating on that for some time. And on one hand, the EDA industry is working using a time-based license where you are selling floating licenses per year or over a 3 years deal. And as a small company, as a startup, we said, okay, let's use this model because this is what our customers are, accustomed to. And it's hard enough to convince them to try out new technology, no matter how good it is. Let's, at least on the licensing side, keep it simple for them.
Right.
But on the other hand, when you are trying to come up with a model that is really connected to the value that you provide as a company, as a product, it's really hard. Because when I, as a CEO of the company, when I have to say, okay, how much is a 1-year license of Cogita? It's a very tough question. How many people will use it? How many licenses are there? What's the support that will be required from us as a company? If they are buying 1 license, if they are buying 5 licenses, if they are buying 100 licenses. So, you know, we got so used to it that as an industry, for us, we are saying, okay, you know, a small company has 10 verification engineers, so they will buy 5 licenses. And a medium company, they have 200 verification engineers, and so they will buy 100 licenses. And a big company has thousands of verification engineers, and so forth. And then you will derive the price of a 1-year license out of that, okay? Because you cannot have a too small of a deal, but you have to tie it to the value. So, okay, maybe it's a fair enough model, but there are much, much better models. Why not pay, first of all, first model, why not pay per use? Whether the use is minutes of actual usage or the use is actual action. So for us, Cogita is helping you, among other things, analyze your log files, okay? So maybe it can be tied to how many megabytes or gigabytes of logs are you reading in, okay? Maybe it can be some kind of usage within the tool itself. So every query in Cogita, there are queries named players, okay, which you are asking the tool to analyze. It can be tied to that. In Cogita, there is a machine learning engine that is providing you answers to the question. You can charge per answer, okay, or per question that the engineer is asking. Definitely, whatever you choose, definitely, there are much more efficient ways than a yearly floating license thing. So that is, I gave examples of our considerations and dilemmas. But if you look at other tools, okay, if you look at simulators, simulators are a classic pay-per-minute kind of thing. I mean, why would I buy a simulator license per year and not pay per usage? And when I use it, when I run regressions, and suddenly I need not 1 license, but 2,000 license, but I want to use them just for an hour, why not enabling that? As a small company, let's say that I am a small company, let's say that I am a services company even, and I don't even need 1 license. I need it from time to time to try out things, maybe to train people. Then I would want to pay per minute. And if I'm Intel and I'd like to run massive regressions, then I would also want to pay for that. I don't want to tie myself to, you know, this and that much licenses. So licensing, to summarize, I think that licensing is a major barrier because today, you know, and we have several customers already that are using AWS for their infrastructure, their Linux servers infrastructures, but the licensing is different.
Well, some people have said that it could cost less for you to run your simulations in the cloud. I think there's a concern about, will there be enough profit margin left to support EDA innovation?
Cloud is promoting interoperability and open source because if things should work on the cloud, they should work together. Okay. And one of the things that, again, in our industry is moving very slow is exactly that. So until not long ago, at least in EDA terms, okay, 10 years ago, until 10 years ago, if you decided to go with one major EDA vendor, the switching modes, okay, for these companies, the switching would be very costly. Today, with functional verification, with a UVM, the switching cost is not that high. Okay, so you could shift to another simulator and run almost seamlessly your verification test benches, but the mindset is still there.
These
Okay,
are radical ideas, Hagai.
yeah, but you know, I'm first and foremost, I'm a verification engineer. And why not? I mean, and the thing is, you started by the question of will there be enough margin left? There will be more margin. There will be more margin. I would gladly, okay, pay a nice percentage of our tool usage to anyone that will enable it.
Are there any tools that would work better on premises versus in the cloud?
It will require some redesign. So again, I'm taking our examples because this is what I know best. So for example, when we had to decide about the GUI of our tool, then on one hand, there is, you know, the Qt technology and this a very limited kind of graphic things that you can do on a remote Linux server over some VNC or NX protocol, which is the state of the art or most big common EDA tools. And we decided to take a different approach, and we decided that our front end is going to be a browser. So when you open our tool set, it's basically a Firefox or a Chrome browser that you actually see. And we did that because we predicted that at some point things will go on the cloud, and as such, it provides you, it's a lot of challenge, okay? But the upside is that it provides some kind of seamless integration or potential seamless integration.
Familiar.
It's familiar and it's a standard. So, you know, if we are to integrate with another simulator, another tool, and all of us will use a browser, then it's another page in the application and nothing needs to be done specifically. Today, it does require, you know, things will have to be developed again. But now, you know, I've seen with our clients that are working on advanced cloud application like AWS, and it's just an example. The tool set and the way graphics are being done and supported there, as opposed to on-premise, are much more advanced. So today, for example, Cogita our tool will run much better on the cloud than on-premise. Okay, because on-premise, I'm bounded to whether this particular Linux server is using a GPU or not. So the entire graphics is depending on that. So I do think that it will require some redesign, some work in that sense. But again, the upside or the potential upside is much bigger than that, than this investment.
Great. Well, Hagai, thank you so much for your thoughts on this. It's going to be a really interesting evolution to see all of this come to be. So thank you.
And I do believe it will happen. And thank you for the opportunity. It was intriguing discussion.